Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here on this Tuesday, November 21st. It's almost time for Thanksgiving. This is going down on Thursday. Hope you guys have some fun plans with family or friends that are like your family. It's just a day to sit back and count our blessings because, you know, at the end of the day, life can be tough, but we all have things that we should be grateful for. Music fact of the day, Michael Jackson's Bad was originally intended to be a duet with Prince, but Prince thought it would be a huge hit with just Michael Jackson singing, so he didn't join in. It's kind of hard to think of songs that we know so well if they had been different, you know, to imagine Prince on that. Probably wouldn't have been bad. A lot of times when I finish a case, people are very interested about that transition from jail to prison. Told you yesterday, and I'll link it again in the description, I have a series on prison life. Some people have said it's not like every other prison in the country. I've never claimed that. I've said pretty much every episode that this is very unique to her. However, there are a lot of universal things between any random prison in the country, whether it be women's or men's. It's definitely not specific to any one prison other than the one that my contact comes from. But it does give you a good overall understanding of how prison works. Prisons have their own economy. They have their own system of kind of who's in charge with the inmates within the inmates. I think that prison could be a really, really hard adjustment for Kaitlin because number one, she's a first-time offender. Jail is very different than prison. This is going to be her forever home. I totally see Kaitlin eventually settling in and starting some yoga class, although I looked at the commissary list and you cannot buy yoga mats as far as I can see, so she's going to have to wing it. Well, let's jump in. Just a few things about Texas prisons. They don't have universal air conditioning. 14% of prisons in Texas have no air at all. 55% have partial air, and 31% have full AC. It's always been something you see in the news in the summer where the temperatures soar, obviously, in Texas, and these prisons get hot. And it is what it is. As long as people aren't falling out, I guess you just got the deal. I think there's a good chance Kaitlin will be put in solitary confinement once she's finished with intake, just due to the high profile nature of her case, the fact that she is a first-time inmate in a prison, and for a lot of other reasons. People that are high profile sometimes can have a target on their back because you have people in there doing life and it's credibility. So if she gets her little fanny whipped by somebody, it might just be, hey, I beat that girl's hiney because she was all over the news and look at me. She'll have a target on her back in some capacity just due to the fact that her case was covered far and wide. Inmates tend to get jealous about that, according to my contact at her facility in California. She's in with very high profile inmates, Diane Downs, Gabriel Hernandez's mother, and she has seen the treatment that these women have gotten. It ain't pretty. Now, this came from the Prison Policy Initiative website. Jails in Texas charge up to $11.25 for a 15-minute phone call. Texas prisoners are not paid for any work they do from jobs that they acquire within the prison. And the average cost to send an e-message is 47 cents. There's been a lot of issue raised recently with the popularity of tablets in prison. And the reason that prisons like tablets is it cuts down on phone conflict. If you have somebody who's a talker and uses all their time to talk, you still have a line of people waiting to make their calls. And if time's up for phone time and you didn't get your call, you're out of luck. It's prison. They don't do favors and you don't get any extra time because this person took up forever. So the intake process can last a few weeks. There's a lot of baseline things that they do to inmates when they come in. When her time comes to be transferred, and as of this morning I looked, she is still in the Travis County Jail. I'm sure given her high profile status and the fact that she escaped the country for over 40 days and 3 weeks before her trial tried to make a run for it, they're going to have some extra precautions. She's probably going to get that Con Air cage in the prison bus on the transport. But inmates can be told at the very last minute to pack up. It's not like you know on this date you're going to go. Sometimes it is within minutes. You get shackled and placed on a transport van. There are no food, drinks, no stopping at rest areas, so you better have a really good pucker string to hold you over. Once you arrive, you're strip searched, given prison clothes. A lot of times you can be given a lice shower, or they put this stuff on you that would kill any kind of lice that you might be bringing into their facility from the outside. According to websites for Texas prisons, the average things that inmates receive upon intake: 2 rolls of toilet paper, 1 package of pads, 2 to 4 tampons, a toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, and deodorant. You don't get little mints on your pillow. Common complaints in Texas prisons. Number 1, the heat. Breakfast can be served as early as 4 a.m., and I've heard that throughout other prisons in the U.S. I mean, they may get their supper at 4:30 or 5 in the evening. On the Prison Initiative website, some complaints from inmates include rodents and insects in their cells, also in the Chow Hall area, small bugs in the shower area. Some people have complained they've got body lice from mattresses they were given at intake. Not saying this is a widespread problem, but these are issues some people have faced. Then you go to receiving and screening. Offenders will be searched again upon arrival. A receipt will be completed for each offender's money and property. Offenders shall be housed according to security needs. So that little escape attempt gonna come back to bite her right in the booty. State clothing will be issued. Medical care will be given if it's immediately needed. You are photographed, fingerprinted. You're examined for any scars, marks, or tattoos that would be used to identify you. They're interviewed to obtain basic demographic information as well as emergency contact information. My contact said when she went to state prison, they said, "Who do we call in the event you're killed or you die?" Fingerprints will be taken again and then sent to the FBI as well as the Texas Department of Public Safety. If you haven't submitted DNA, you'll be required to give a DNA sample, and then you will receive your Texas DOJ identification card. Inmates will be given a physical and dental exam by medical staff during this intake period. You give your medical history, and then they will determine any special needs you may have. Each inmate will undergo a mental health screening and may be referred for further psychological evaluation if needed. Then you're going to watch an orientation video. It includes the director's introduction. Welcome to prison. Hope you enjoy your stay. They explain the intake process, different classifications, health services, the security threat group, safe prisons. You get messages from the Office of the Inspector General. They talk about offender visitation, their discipline procedures, collection of DNA, general rules of the prison you're in, contraband and shakedowns, count procedures, access to court, grievance procedures, risk management, offender mail and correspondence rules, food service and laundry, commissary and trust fund, the school district where you can get your GED if you don't have it, recreation activities, the chaplain, substance abuse treatment programs, sex offender treatment programs, state council for offenders, the parole process, and the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. Kaitlin will be eligible for parole after serving, I believe, 30 years. I'm not 100% on that. The chances of her getting paroled are like 0 to none. It's a violent offense. It was premeditated. You can be up for parole, and people are kind of freaking out about that, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Field services and release, voter registration, and then closing remarks. That's all the video you're going to watch shortly after you arrive into a Texas prison. Inmates will participate in peer education classes addressing the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Texas is a zero tolerance state. Most are now. They also are zero tolerance for sexual harassment. They'll teach inmates how to report incidents. Now, a lot of times, according to my contact and other people I've talked to in prison, unfortunately say, when stuff like this happens, they don't report because snitches get stitches. So comprehensive education is given to these inmates about the Prison Rape Elimination Act as well as sexual harassment. They have to do that within 30 days of intake regarding the issue, and also advise them of their right to be free from such. All inmates will be tested for the following: life history, criminal history, social history, institutional history, educational, employment, family, military, drug and alcohol history, and any other pertinent information. If you give false information, that's punishable. The one thing about prison is you are in control of nothing. You may have control of the little group you hang out with, or a few inmates that aren't in your group that owe you a favor or things like that. But at the end of the day, the correctional officers and staff dictate where you go, when you go, how you go, and can really make your life miserable if you get on their bad side. An offender will be assigned to prison based on the data collected through the intake process, and considerations include the offender's safety needs, security needs, and treatment needs, and in Kaitlin's case, the ability to escape. Based on the above, all this will be considered when staff considers placement for level of supervision. I have a feeling she'll be maximum security just given her conviction and her escape attempts. Also, it'll be considered on your housing assignment and if you're eligible for a job assignment. Don't think she'll be eligible anytime soon. Stuff like that is usually earned through good behavior. Custody levels depend on current offense and sentence length. If rules are violated, the inmate may be put in more restrictive custody. They also have individualized treatment plans. It outlines activities and services that an offender can do and prioritizes participation in recommended programs based on the offender's needs, the program availability, and applicable parole or discharge date. Probably not applicable here. Personal cleanliness and grooming. Offenders shall be given the opportunity to shower. Offenders shall maintain good personal hygiene. Offenders shall brush their teeth daily. Female offenders shall have no extreme hairstyles. Beauty shops are on the units, but that is a privilege and can be taken away. So you can be looking like Cousin It if you're bad. Disciplinary issues may prevent an inmate from being able to go. Offenders' fingernails shall be neatly trimmed, no more than 1/8 of an inch past the tip of the finger, and fingernails will be rounded and not in a point. As far as clothing and necessities, no altering or destroying state-issued clothing. You will have a daily change of socks or undergarments. You will have enough clothes to be warm during cold weather. Change of shirts and pants are given no less than 3 times per week. Your pants' legs may not be rolled up or tucked inside socks or footwear. Pants will be worn above waist level and not below. Collars may not be tucked inside shirts, and the shirt tails must be tucked in. Female offenders will be given socks and Department of Corrections shoes. Shoes will be laced and tied at all times. Shower towels. Each offender will be given 3 towels per week. As far as linens, you will be given a clean and sanitized mattress, pad, and a pillow combination. Linens are exchanged weekly with 2 sheets and 1 pillowcase. Blankets will be issued during cold winter months. Items of necessity will be traded on a 1-for-1 basis, clean for dirty. Clothing returned with intentional damage can result in disciplinary action. You'll be assigned a locker or a shelf to store personal property. Do not use one not assigned to you. Living areas. Each offender will be assigned a bunk in a cell or dormitory. You cannot change bunks without permission. Living areas are to be kept neat, clean, and free from contraband. Beds are to be made daily. All property shall fit in a box provided the maximum size they give you is 2 cubic feet, kind of like a moving box. Some exceptions, such as a radio, a typewriter, and a fan, can be stored outside of the box. An offender is not allowed to go into another offender's cell. This is a rule violation, and if any part of the offender's body enters the cell of another offender or any object held in any way by the offender, that means you have entered the cell of another offender and you can be punished. Offenders shall not hang towels, blankets, clothing, or any other similar items in the living area so that it blocks correctional officers' view at any time. This includes when you go in potty, 1 or 2, everybody gets to watch. My colon and my bladder would bust, y'all. That's how I would go in prison, because I would not be able to go in front of people. No items on windows, doors, cubicle walls, or in front of vents. You cannot sleep on the floor. Radios can be played on low volume or with the use of headphones or earphones. You can buy those things in the commissary. I do have a list we're going to go through, as well as some photos of examples of things that inmates in Texas prisons have access to if you have people on the outside giving you money. I feel sure that Kaitlin will have her family giving her commissary money. A lot of times in that case, what people will do is pair up with somebody who doesn't have anybody giving them money for their trust account on the outside. That money can be deposited into that person's account, and then you shop out of their account or give them a list of what you want. And generally there is some exchange there just for doing that with that person. It may be food. Hopefully not a favor. Favors are not what you want to do in prison. Food that can spoil cannot be stored in living areas. Stealing fruit from the Chow Hall, very common. It's used to make prison hooch, which I heard tastes like crap. It sometimes is made in toilets or the sink or in a bag under your bed. But I hear it gets the job done and you get a little tipsy. Offenders cannot be loud or boisterous, use vulgar or abusive language. Before leaving your living area, you will make your bed, turn off all electrical appliances except your clock and your radio, pick up all garbage, empty trash, dress properly, have your ID card on, store all personal property, and no loitering in the hallways outside the living areas. Let's move on to Chow Hall. Offenders are provided 3 wholesome meals a day. On selected units, 2 meals will be provided on Saturdays and Sundays that meet the same nutritional needs as 3 meals a day. I think that's kind of common in a lot of prisons from what I've heard. Weekends, you get 2. So you think about somebody who doesn't have commissary and doesn't have anything to supplement when they get hungry, not much you can do. No talking loudly or cutting in lines in the Chow Hall. Meals are served cafeteria style. No food may be wasted or stolen. You can go through the line 1 time per meal. It ain't the Golden Corral. Correctional officers will show offenders where to sit, no skipping or saving seats. Correctional officers will show offenders where to sit. You cannot skip seats or save seats. Conversations at tables will be held at a normal conversation level. You cannot pass food from one table to another. Offenders who are not satisfied with the food may talk to the correctional officer on duty. I don't recommend it because we know what happens when you complain about food sometimes. And I think prison would be one of the places they might put a little extra something special in your meal if you do. Offenders have 20 minutes to eat from the time they enter the dining room until they leave. If you're caught loitering, visiting, or engaging in similar activities and not eating, you're going to be kicked out. You stay seated until you leave. When it's time to go, you will clean your eating area, turn in your trays, cups, utensils, and other similar items before leaving. No food shall be taken from the dining hall except as allowed by unit policy. If you are disciplined and not allowed to go to the dining hall, you will be given a sack lunch. The Prison Journalism Project had an article written by an inmate about lockdown meals in Texas and gave kind of a daily menu. During COVID, a lot of prisons were on lockdown due to staff shortages and also to try to minimize the spreading of that. Because in prison, people that come visit, you got people bringing things to the jail to stock things up. You've got correctional officers coming in and out. Well, you still get highly contagious viruses sent through the jail. I've heard the absolute most miserable thing to go through a prison or a jail is norovirus, where everybody's vomiting and doing the other. And then when you're in a cell sometimes with 8 women and you got 1 toilet, well, you do the math and that could end very, very messy. Lockdowns can happen for safety reasons, but mainly is due to short staffing or communal illness outbreaks. They get what they call Johnny sacks, a sack lunch. You typically get milk and coffee with breakfast, or coffee and an orange drink, tea or juice for lunch and dinner. The corn dogs are standard child size. So here's an example of meals during lockdown, and this is specific to the author of this article who is incarcerated in Texas. For breakfast, that came at 8 a.m., PB&J sandwich, 1 egg, 1 ounce of cereal. Lunch came at 5:17 p.m., PB&J pancake sandwich, 24 raisins, 1 hot dog, 2 slices of bread. Supper was at 1:50 a.m. for this person due to staff shortages because of illness. That was a PB&J sandwich, 1 chicken patty sandwich, and that was it. Another lunch, they got 6 prunes and 1 frozen burrito. Can you imagine the bathroom chaos when you feed a whole bunch of inmates 6 prunes and a frozen burrito? Oh boy. Shower rules. You may shower once daily. You may wear undergarments while showering. No showering during normal working hours. There are designated times. A lot of times it's very, very early in the morning, like 5 a.m. You cannot carry towels or extra clothing from the shower area back to your cell. The day room rules. TV kept at a low volume. Majority rules when choosing what to watch. You may talk at low levels to ensure not disturbing others watching TV. That can cause a fight. No loud talking, arguing, horseplay, slamming dominoes, and other types of disturbances. Remain seated when in the day room. You cannot save chairs. Proper dress is required, and you have to wear your bra when you're out in public areas. No hats or caps or headgear worn in the day room with the exception of religious headwear. No blankets, pillows, or linens allowed in the day room. What's okay to have in the day room? You may have one canned drink or cup, one opened container of food for self-consumption, including chips, crackers, and cookies, one magazine, book, or newspaper, the Bible, board games, writing materials. You can have a pen, pencil, no stamps, and no legal materials in the common area. You may have one brush or comb. For recreation, they can play chess, checkers, Scrabble, dominoes, basketball, volleyball, table tennis, handball, weightlifting. They can also do in-cell art activities. There are things called craft shops where you can get items to do crafts in your cell. You can also watch TV. You can participate in intramural sports out in the yard. Out of cell times, typically 2 to 4 hours a day, and that's based on a lot of factors such as staffing. Are we having an outbreak of fights? And also, are you being good? So yard rules, proper dress is required. Regulation t-shirts and shorts are allowed. Bras are required. No contact with the fence. Looking at you, Kaitlin. No clothing placed on the fence. No horseplay. No physical contact unless it's recreational activity related. Do not urinate anywhere except for the porta potties in the rec yard. No food or drink also in the rec yard. So commissary. All right. So I have some items here if you're on YouTube on the screen. And this is just a representation from the Texas Department of Corrections of things that you have access to if you're lucky enough to get commissary and have somebody on the outside putting that money on the books for you. Art supplies, you can get drawing pads, you can get color pencils. So what's the amount inmates can spend? It was a little bit confusing. It depends on a lot of factors such as your security level, your custody status. The lowest is for a level 5 inmate, which is $25 every 2 weeks. Some inmate accounts can have up to $300 per deposit. As far as the transactions, $85 for a level 4 inmate. So it just kind of varies on where you're at within the prison system. When you go to get your stuff, there's no talking in line. Items you buy, they're for your personal use only. That never floats. This stuff gets traded around, and that is a whole economy in prison is commissary items. Have money in your account to cover all items. Your commissary purchase slips will be filled out prior to getting to the window to purchase your items. Check your items before leaving. No changes will be made once you leave the window, and you don't get to exchange something you don't want. You can only buy what will fit in your storage space. So what are some examples of items available in the commissary and their costs? You can get ramen, instant rice, assorted cereals. Those are typically around $2. A radio or a clock, $20. Headphones, $7. Standard wristwatch, $19. You can get a hot pot for $24. If you want to go old school and get a typewriter, it's going to set your family back $360, not to mention all the ribbons and things like that. Tampons cost between $6 and $15. Hair dryers, $26. They do have access to makeup, foundation, $13. Eyeliner, $5. Mascara, around $10. Lipstick, $8.56. You can get perms, $32 to get your hair curly. Reebok shoes for women, $49. Shower shoes, $8. As far as clothing, a t-shirt, $7.75. Gym shorts, $10.50. Boxers, $9.75. Thermal shirts and pants are $6.75 up to $35. Thermals, if you can't afford them, I've seen people use standard issue socks. They cut a hole in the bottom and stick them up their arm for arm warmers. A cooling shirt, $8.50. If you want a padlock to protect your stuff, $17. Art supplies include adult coloring books, mini colored pencils, watercolor pad, illustration boards, drawing pads, watercolor paints, chess sets. They also get tablets where she's at, and these are given through the prison system. It does not look like inmates have to purchase their own tablets as they do in some states. Those can be several $100s. So what comes on these tablets? Well, they don't get to browse the internet like you and I do freely. It's very regulated, but they can make phone calls to their loved ones at any time. There's a law library. They have educational resources on these tablets, religious resources. You can play games. You can do job searches, but she don't need that. Podcasts. What's up, guys? Now, listening from the inside, I do know that several women in the prison where my contact is listen to Pretty Lies. You can have ebooks, music. You can download songs, and the libraries for those, I've looked through some of them, not specifically for Texas, kind of like going through iTunes. And also services, you can contact faculty, staff, and that kind of thing. But going back to the commissary items, of course, you have your standard personal hygiene things like lotions, Lubriderm lotion. If you look, a lot of the food is sort of an off-brand. The candies seem to be more mainstream brand, but your chips and stuff, kind of just like an off-brand. There is a brand of chips that are popular in the prisons, and they're only made for prisons, but you can find them on Amazon. It's called the whole shebang. I just ordered a bag. I've heard they're amazing. People that get out of prison say that's the one thing they miss is the whole shebang chips that are only available when you're incarcerated. But if you look here, it just really looks like a lot of food you would get at the Dollar Tree or a Dollar General. It's not high quality. It's really all bad for you. Weight gain is a huge problem in prisons because the food stinks. Most people supplement using the commissary, and it ain't fruits and veggies, as you could see. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice, they've rolled out tablets across 66 prison facilities. As of this year, I believe they were trying to get them in all facilities. Phone calls, though, you have to pay for that. You have to pay for any media, games, anything. So unless you're accessing the law library or things of that nature, your family's still going to have to put money on your media account so you can access that stuff. As far as walking around, the hall rules, you walk a single file next to the wall. There are lines. You don't cross those lines. You stay on the lines. No eating or drinking in the hall. No throwing trash. No spitting on the floor, ladies. No running. What can you bring when you're new to prison? Education, one item each, such as substance abuse literature, one religious text, healthcare devices and supplies. Medically prescribed items will be evaluated by medical staff for approval. Contact lenses are allowed only until you get DOJ issued eyeglasses. So if you've always wore contacts and you go into the big house, you won't be wearing contacts anymore. You can bring one wedding ring, one wristwatch that's in compliance, no Apple Watches. They can be denied if the size or value is excessive. So if somebody like Donna Adelson's coming in there with a big shiny rock on her hand, probably going to have to send it back to her husband. You also get one pair of shower shoes. You can have photographs that are not sexually explicit in nature. Personal shoes. If your size isn't available in the Department of Corrections, issued footwear, you may wear shoes in your possession at the time of intake, but eventually they'll get your size. Visitation, address list, and phone numbers. Cash or money orders and cashier's checks can be deposited into that inmate trust fund. Also, if you bring in driver's licenses, birth certificates, social security cards, all that will be forwarded to the re-entry and integration division. Then when you're released, you get it back. In Kaitlin's case, never see those again. Items not allowed can be mailed at the offender's expense within designated time limits. If this is not possible, all items will either be donated to charity or destroyed. My contact in prison had a ring that was from a couple of generations back. The monetary value of it was nothing, but she didn't have anybody to send it to, and they told her to toss it. So she watched it sink down into the trash can. The amount you can spend in commissary, we discussed this, it depends on your classification and your custody status. Contraband, money, gambling items such as dice and playing cards, unapproved books and magazines, non-regulation clothing, tobacco items, all that, not allowed. The DOJ in Texas, tobacco free. They'll make their own dice. They'll take toilet paper, wet it, let it solidify using something, and then they'll get pens and put little dots on there. There's ways around everything in prison. A lot of things can get very creative in how they skirt the rules in prison. General rules. When talking to staff, you should stand with your hands by your side. Refer to them as Mr. or Miss, last name, or by title. Offenders shall answer with sir and ma'am. That's Texas for you. No tampering with hand restraints or any security equipment. Living areas obviously can be searched at any time. You cannot trade items from commissary or personal property. Happens all the time. They're understaffed. They can't regulate everything. No sunglasses unless medically prescribed. As far as education, inmates approved to participate can train in various vocational trades. Most programs are 600 hours long before you're certified. People that are getting out that want to learn a trade, they can learn auto trade, construction, landscaping, culinary arts. welding and metal trades, or electrical trades. As far as libraries, inmates have access to reference books, library books, magazines, and newspapers. Some facilities have faith-based dorms. You get in there on good behavior and have shown that you are dedicated to your respective religion. Usually there's not a lot of drama on those units. People know that it's behavior-based, and if you want to go to a facility or to a section of the prison like that, you have to be good. And typically it's a little bit freer than your higher custody levels within the prison. Should a family member of Kaitlin's become critically ill or pass away while she's incarcerated, which inevitably it will happen because she's a lifer, she would not be eligible to attend anything, funerals, bedside, due to her murder conviction and that escape attempt. But by default, that murder conviction would prevent her from ever being able to leave that prison for reasons. Lower level prisoners who have nonviolent offenses especially sometimes can go to funerals or to be at the bedside of an immediate family member if they are dying. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think Kaitlin's going to acclimate well? Or do you think this is going to be a very hard adjustment for her? I think when you have somebody like Kaitlin who clearly does not want to be in custody. Okay, we have the Costa Rica escape. We have the 3-week before trial escape. This is much more secure. She's not going out anywhere unless she has some very specialized medical care that's needed. They typically try to handle all this in-house. She's not getting out. I wonder what her mindset is. Defeat, anger. A lot of times prisoners are angry. In my prison series, one of the things that my contact told me is that oftentimes you find prisoners who really aren't sorry for the crimes they committed. They're more sorry for the reality that they've caused themselves. I'm sure Kaitlin's family will stay in contact with her and keep her up on commissary money. $10,000 is a large amount of restitution, but I've seen much larger. And then eventually maybe she'll be able to get a job, but that's going to take a long time. It takes typically, from everybody I've talked to who's incarcerated for any length of time, a couple of years to get used to just being in prison. It is a different world than jail. And she's only been in jail since she's been arrested. This is going to be a big wake-up call. She's got to learn an entire society that has cultural norms very specific to prison, an economy that's specific to prison. Maybe she can just meditate for the rest of her life and just go somewhere else. But that's kind of it. So I just wanted to tell you some things that were specific to Texas as far as intake, what's available to her. You know, you can get all these fancy commissary items and you can be the one that has all the food. But at the end of the day, it's not freedom. You're not in control of a single aspect of your life. And I think that's going to be difficult for her because clearly she feared that. That's it for today. In the meantime, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you soon.